Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is Saint of Legend bringing you another old school RuneScape video. Today we are going to be hunting, if you haven't guessed by now, Mutated Bloodvelds. Now, these guys are a very common and well-known monster. They require level 50 Slayer to be able to damage, and they're actually found in at least 3 different locations. They're found in the Catacombs of Corinth, which is where we will be taking our video from. They're also in the Ireworth Dungeon and the Mayor Ditch Laboratories. I prefer the Catacombs of Corinth, of course, because anything killed in here has the chance of dropping the Ancient Shard and the Totem Pieces. All these things are really good to have. They stack up nicely in the bank, and you get your shot at Skotizo, which we will talk about in another video. Now, these guys are mutated Bloodvelds, meaning that they are the stronger and more lucrative variants of the regular Bloodvelds. And of course, beyond these guys, if you are on a Slayer task and you have the bigger and badder Slayer bonus unlocked, you'll have a chance of spawning an insatiable mutated Bloodveld. I think that's what it's called. Yes, it is. These guys look amazing, if I do say so myself. A very interesting design. I've had somebody watching me kill them and saying, look at those cheeks. I try not to, but you know, nonetheless, an interesting design. So as for the mutated Bloodvelds themselves, one thing that they're very well known for, of course, are the blood rune drops. I believe these are the most common and probably where most of the money is going to come from these guys. They drop a stack of 30 and a stack of 7 blood runes as 2 separate drops, which oddly enough, the stack of 30 is more common to receive than the stack of 7. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about, but hey, it's more money in the long run, so I'm not complaining. They also drop fire runes, air runes, and 4 soul runes, so having all these stack up is pretty amazing. As for everything else, for weapons and armor, everything on their list is pretty alchable, except for the adamant knives and the mithril axes, I believe. Everything else is alchable, so it basically turns into a stackable coin stack. And we have our first hard clue scroll. These actually drop 1 in 128, which is actually kind of a common number for hard clues. I didn't expect to get too many of those. I never really do expect to get many of those because, you know, I'm never disappointed when I do. They also drop ensouled Bloodveld heads. These are actually pretty darn good to have. If not to sell, then they're actually really nice to have for prayer training at the Arceus altar in Zaya. And as for the other drops that they have, literally listed on the other section of their drop table, gold ore, meat pie, bowstring, ruby amulet. I mean, it's really random stuff. The meat pie you could use for food if you're fighting them without using your prayer. What's interesting about these guys is they have a very bizarre mechanic where they have a magic-based melee attack, which means that the impact is melee, so you use protect for melee, but the damage roll is rolled against your magic defense. So, you know, it makes you wonder, what is that tongue made out of? But anyway, I digress. They've got the standard rare drop table with, you know, dragon spears, shield left halves, clue scrolls as you saw already. But other than that, the drops are not too special. Because of their size, they're actually very safe spottable if you use the little hallway just north of where I'm fighting them. So I did consider between fighting them with ranged with my crystal armor and Bofa as opposed to melee. But I figured it would take too long to kind of like set them up, and it would just slow down the number of kills I could get over a period of time. I mean, it definitely would make me last longer per run because I don't have to return. As you see a lot of jump cuts in the video, I usually have to run up quite often to restore my prayer and then come back down. Because I'm just camping protect melee and I flick piety just to kind of speed things up a little bit. But you could totally use ranged and then, you know, just set them up on that hallway. It's really easy. You can even make them safe spot on each other because they're so big. As usual, I would like to suggest that if you have any ideas for future videos or monsters you'd like to see me grind out for GP, or just to see how much experience you can get or how many kills I can get in an hour, please feel free to mention them in the comments. I always check my comment section for ideas and suggestions, and I will take them to heart if I find them interesting, and I'll give them a shot. Hey, our second hard clue scroll. What a surprise. Why not? I'll take it. We'll finish that. Probably the only time I've ever talked about a design of a monster in RuneScape, but these guys are so odd to look at. They look like giant pigs or cows, but their heads are... what? Their heads are like plungers with tongues? I don't know. It seems like an oddly simple and boring, yet interesting and bizarre design for a monster in RuneScape. And these guys are an old classic, so they've been around forever. So I figured I'd give them a shot because everyone knows about them, just to see, you know, how their worth stacks up over time, and if they're worth really camping for a long period of time to, you know, stack up money or even experience. They have quite a bit of health, decent level of... I know the regular Bloodvelds are easier to get through, but these guys offer higher Slayer experience on task as opposed to regular Bloodvelds, so I figured they'd be worth more money as well per kill. And I mean, I am right, based on what the Wikipedia says, they're at least like 3 times worth more per kill, so that's why we're here doing these guys instead of the regular Bloodveld. So we're going to finish up this grind and do the price check here next to our good buddy Lenobo Blinyo. I don't know who let this guy out in public dressed like that, but you gotta appreciate the freedom. So the price check of all the items we managed to gather is 264k. Most of that coming from, of course, the blood runes. We got 4 Bloodveld heads, so we're going to hold on to those for our prayer training. And that's pretty much it, folks. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.